Hi, and welcome back to another episode dissecting the engine of my 1978 Mercedes-Benz 450 SL. Today, we are going to be looking at something that I talked about in an earlier episode, or something related to it, which is the camshaft. So I talked about the valves in an earlier episode, and the valves, all they do is they control when air is allowed to come into or come out of a cylinder. The camshafts tell the valves when to do that. So here's a camshaft. I've taken one of them off, but the other one is still on. Let's set the tripod up. Right. Oh, all right. Here is the camshaft. So it's this thing. And you can see it has these oblong, almost egg-shaped, if you will, things on it. And what those do is the springs that I talked about in an earlier episode get pushed down when the long side of that thing, shaped like this, pushes down on it. And that pushes the valve down, allowing air to come by the sides of it. Let me think of a better way to explain that to you, because that might not make sense visually. Okay, here, let me change the camera angle. Okay, so you have these things right here. And when these guys turn, they don't right now because, you know, the engine's broken, but let's get this angle actually. You see this. And you see these springs. These springs here are the same as these springs on this side. And when this camshaft turns, this is called a camshaft, this thing right here. When it turns, this will push down on that, which will push the springs in, which will allow the air to come in here, and then it'll allow the air to come out the other side when it has exploded. So they're driven by these chains here, which go on to a little gear that isn't on here right now that I've already taken off. But it's a very, again, simple but kind of cool system. Here, let me switch. It's a very cool system. Kind of ingenious thing that, because of the shape of those things, it only pushes it down at certain points, and that you can change the shape of it, you can change the size of it, and that'll tell the valve how long to be pushed down, how deeply to be, how far to be pushed down, and that controls how much air you get in, how much air you get out. But really all it is, it's a pipe spinning and opening some little valves. That's all it does, very simple. Even though it is one of the most complicated looking things on here, I think, it's quite efficient actually. And then you have one last thing on here, this little tube. It goes along here. All that does is it provides oil to the camshafts, and oil is used all throughout the engine just to make sure that metal rubs smoothly on other pieces of metal. Because if you rub two pieces of metal together, it'll get really hot, and then they won't move. Yeah, the two pieces of metal don't like to rub against each other, especially not as quickly as you need to for this. So oil, all it does is it keeps it cool, but really just a slippery surface for the engine to not overheat and not destroy itself. So that's all that little tube does, is it does that for the camshafts. See you guys in the next episode.